Oh, Singapore is the first one. Right. We started and end with a reaction track. That's going to be interesting because I don't think anyone's really put much into reaction, have they? Although Popcat does have, and Gordon Jr.
Yeah, I mean, we have there are definitely some drivers that have some invested into this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. So let's see if we can get somebody else in here to at least respond maybe on Discord that it's sounding all
Yep.
right.
At everyone, because, you know. Okay, so I've asked in chat if someone can tell us stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting here to see how it all unfolds right away in this first race.
Cool. And yeah, so it's going to be Singapore in the dry, right? For both races?
Correct. Dry for both races, thank God. And yeah, that's all I can say to that. I just didn't want to see. I want to see a rain-filled race for the first one.
Well, yeah, we are having confirmation that people are hearing us loud and clear.
Perfect. Well, that's a good thing because I have no clue what I'm doing.
Cool. Yeah, as we let people trickle in, we're just going to wait a few more minutes for people to get in. And I think we're going to start at 35 with qualifying for Formula 2. Yeah, well, so everyone, welcome to the first season of Score F1.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I think we're gonna see. I think the unique part, obviously, is who's developing what skills first, and because this race is going to show nothing as of to what the middle, basically the sandwich of everything that's squeezed between these two reaction races.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction races are very interesting because there's so few compared to the other types of races, which is going to be very interesting to see which drivers have put in any sort of time into developing reaction compared to others that might sacrifice that a bit, but will go for the more the more like momentum and tracks, where I think there's 5 of them this season. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see. And yeah, the good news is that after the last couple signings this morning, we do have a full roster of drivers for Formula 2 as well as Formula 1.
Yeah, which is absolutely just crazy to me how quickly everybody hopped in and have been updating and staying active. It's actually pretty cool to see, especially Score coming back.
Yep. For some of our veteran Sim League people out there, we did have SCORE, which stands for Stock Car Online Racing. If you remember the good days of NR 2003, I think it was, or 2004. It's basically the game that was used as the basis to create iRacing, but it was just strictly NASCAR. So this is a bit more fun top-down, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, so let's see, we got about 13 in here. So I think we're gonna kick off qualifying here, at least get through this initial part, for F2, and then F2 essentially it's going to be 24 lap race each. There's going to be one qualifying lap for the drivers, pretty standard. The tire wear itself, as our discussion previously was in anybody listened to the full broadcast for the test race, we definitely are going to govern that tire wear a little bit so that it at least spreads out, so that nobody's pitting every 2 to 3 laps, because it just gets chaotic in that regard. So nobody likes to see somebody going pits all the time with tires. So this one we actually have it because of Singapore and some of the corners that it does have the tire wear on it. Even at 3, you were having to pit almost every second lap, and so that's been turned down to 1. Right now, softs, I believe, we'll check it out as we're going through the qualifying laps, but softs, I think it's 5 to 8 laps for one run on softs. So that we'll probably see 3 to 4 pit stops, to be honest, in F2, and obviously more with the longer laps or with the longer race from the F1 standpoint.
Yeah, I think overall we do want to try and aim for 3 to 4 pit stops being kind of the norm for each circuit. The circuits will vary in length in terms of laps and just circuit size, but overall we still aim for between 3 and 4 pit stops for a season. And so unlike test race 1 where we had certain drivers pit like 9 times, you're not going to see that.
Yeah. The other thing that was changed for this one, damage. We essentially turned damage down to low on this one. Otherwise, we were seeing significant amounts of issues with cars basically every other lap, and you will see why as to some of the corners and the heavy braking zones, essentially.
Yeah, and I think with all these details, we are going to be ready to go underway. So we'll be starting with Formula 2 and qualifying, then race, then Formula 1, qualifying, then race. So, sit down, grab a beer, watch some digital cars go. And we're off now for qualifying. So, do you want to tell us how qualifying works?
So essentially, F2, you're going to have 1 lap. Depending on, you got to remember that it's from the moment you cross the line. So even though a driver crosses the line first to start the run, you got to remember that they're running against themselves. It's qualifying essentially. So follow the lap times as they roll in and look at that, not necessarily paying attention to who's crossing the line first when it comes to qualifying.
Yeah. Although we do see that Popcat does have quite a bit of a lead on everyone else, so that could be good for him. And as they cross the line, Popcat is in the lead. I think I saw Gordon Jr. in 2nd, Dadley 4th, Albona 4th, Rafe 5th, Miller 6th, Wong, Sile, Andrews, Maldonado completing the top 10. And the bottom half we have Toth, Dakari, Bobby, Uta, Vander Bison, Bingo, Hill, Venegas, Bergen, and closing in last place, Steve.
And so with that, Popcat's going to have that. They are going to be awarded the first score point of the season, essentially, with that qualifying pole lap. All right, so with that, essentially, Popcat will get the first point of the season for Formula 2. And so now we'll head over to the race, and it's going to kick off right from the beginning, so won't have much time between there and here. So we'll see how this is going to roll out. Seeing the Hendrick twins there at 3rd and 4th is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Hendrick Motorsports, formerly known as Haas Racing. They seem to be really, there for the start of this race. And, second row lockout for them means that they'll probably be able to have one of the drivers attack really early on and push for, the lead of the race. And as we start, and we're off. Popcat with a defensive move, take the lead and holds it. Gordon's still second, but loses it to Dadley. So the Hendrick Motorsports now challenging for the lead. Dadley is faster than Popcat and takes the lead. So Dadley from Popcat, from Miller, from Gordon Jr., Albano, Maldonado. And yeah, we do have quite a bit of a battle between the top three at the moment. Miller now in the lead, followed by Dadley. Popcat falling a bit behind, but still has a gap to fourth place, which is closing.
So as you can see there, with some of these heavy braking corners, how much bumping and banging there really essentially is going into some of these turns.
Yeah. Now we have Popcat coming back up into second, but Dadley uses his DRS turbo to break part. Maldonado also attacking real hard there. Still in fourth, but closing in on second and third with a nice move. He goes into second. Further down, we have another battle for, what is that, 7-8, I think. But it looks like Andrews and Sila are there. Still a battle for second place there with Dadley breaking away, but Miller, Maldonado, and Popcat really fighting for those podium positions early on in the race. Sila, Andrews, Albano, and Gordon Jr. are fighting for what? Fifth, 6th, 7, 8. So it's very interesting to see them go up front like that. Yeah, I mean, now as we're starting to see little groups of cars happen everywhere. Some cars do have some damage on, as we can see from Gordon Jr. already down to about 60-70% of its health.
Toth will see go in there. Maldonado.
Yeah, those are some very early pits for them. Toth was on hards, so that's gonna hurt Toth a lot. But that's the price you pay for the damage. Also, Toth coming into was it Hill there? It's a bit of a dangerous exit of the pits.
Yeah.
But yeah, up front, Dadley is putting on quite the gap. He's got almost 2 seconds to Popcat. Miller close by to Popcat, so they're driving together to try and close the gap on Dadley. We'll see how that goes. We're on board with Andrews, Gordon, and Albano, who are all three going into the pits, repairing some big damage there. And they're back out. So far, I think we can head to Maldonado. There's a bit of a fight there going on between him, Wong, and Miller. This is for 5th place in the standings, 4th, 5th, and yeah, Maldonado and Wong really close at it.
Yeah, Maldonado will have the newer tires on that one.
Yeah, Maldonado is on softs though, so Wong has him in the long run. Also, that hit is probably not ideal.
Probably not good for the equipment. That's yes.
But let's check in with let's go down the standings. Like, so in first place, Dadley quite the gap on Popcat. Those two still have not pitted and we're both running on mediums. Maldonado third, has pitted, is on softs, followed by Miller on hards, that has pitted. Sile, softs, hasn't pitted. We're probably going to see him pit very soon. We have Dakari in 6th, Wong 7th, Andrews 8th, followed by Gordon, Bobby, Vanderbijzen, Albano, Toth. Yes, some positions are changing, but at the end of the day, Steve is still in last position and has already pit. Probably not the best race for them. But as I said, it's probably one of these people that decide to sacrifice this race to be better in the long run. So we see a bit of a train forming between Albano, Ray, Wong, Toth, and Utah. It's a stretch out, but it'll get back together. Some of the cars there are actually pretty damaged as well, so wouldn't be surprised to see early second pits from some of these guys. As almost everyone but the hard tire runners have pitted. We do see Toth and Utah go in for their second pit stop, I believe. It might have been Yuta's first pit stop, but his 12th second pit stop. Having a bit of a rough day out there for Toth. How do you think of the race so far?
I think I actually think Popcat's primed right now to make a little bit of a run. I know just from the attributes, obviously, of what people are upgrading. Popcat came in late to the entrances, but what they upgraded, this track fits them pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I'd say both Popcat and Gordon Jr. did have some points invested into reaction. I'm not sure about Dadley, but Dadley is, he's gone.
I know
he's got a big gap.
Yeah, I know Dadley is the highest of the drivers for this track. I believe it's 6.
Okay, so we do have a few favorites for this. Again, how much points do you invest into a reaction track when there's significantly less of them in the season? It might pay out in future seasons where we might see more of them, but as of now, I mean, the early points are good, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, this really is. This race right here is not really going to forecast what we're going to see throughout the season, because next time we use reaction, a lot of these drivers still will probably be at the same level that they're at right now, when they're going to have to start prioritizing the other 3 attributes that they're going to be using more frequently.
And if we could go into was it 5-6 there? Let's follow along with some of those close gaps. Maybe Gordon Jr., Maldonado. Those guys. Yeah, there we are. There's a bit of a race here. Wong is coming up real fast, but stopped using his DRS. Ray and Maldonado really fighting for what is 6th place at the moment in the race. As we see some drivers already having done their 3rd pit. It's a very aggressive strategy from Maldonado. I think that's 2nd set of softs in a row. So yeah, we're looking maybe at the 4 or 5 pits for Maldonado at this rate, which not the ideal. Popcat comes out of the pits right in front of him, and now has the run on Gordon. This is for 4th place.
Ooh, Gordon just put him right in the wall there.
Rubbing his racing. Pretty sure that's from NASCAR. But yeah, there is a bit of a fight right behind them. So we have like 2 pairs of fights with Popcat going past Gordon Jr. Dakari and Maldonado still fighting there in the back. Yeah, a bit of a tussle there. And yeah, let's follow a bit with Dadley, who's trying to close the gap on Miller. Miller with soft tires, whereas Dadley's on hards. As we said, Dadley does have the highest reaction of any driver on Formula 2. So it'll be interesting to see if he is able to maintain the gap until Miller has to pit for fresh tires. We are about halfway through the race now. Yeah. Most drivers, I don't know, are in small battles here and there. So we have to see what that does later on. But everyone's at least pitted once. Some hard to mediums in the back, but almost everyone's at least done 2 pit stops. A couple of 3s, a couple of 1s, but things are shaking up as is.
It's actually, even though we're in the first race, you can see how Dadley has, how they progress this reactionary attribute, how this skill, and then watch some other ones, and really you can look at it how different lines they take in going to some of these corners.
Yeah, as Dadley and Miller are passing by some lapped cars, so that'll maybe slow them down a bit. So halfway through the race, we are starting to see some lapped traffic. It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate them. So far, not too much trouble for the 2 of them. They're by far and out away from everyone else in the race.
Yeah, they got about 5 seconds almost cleared on Popcat right now.
Um, let's leave them for a little bit and let's look through the standings where the other battles might be. As we see Gordon Jr. going into the pits and Dakari as well, both with damage. So that's a complete repair and fix. We have Andrews going into the pits as well. I think that's pretty much it in terms of pits. But yeah. The battle is still up front between Dudley and Miller, but we also have Wong and Dakari that are very close by and on screen at the moment. We're trying to.
I think that's my favorite part of the track. Those S's right there.
Yeah. And just for everyone to know that we are trying to go through and give at least everyone some screen time. We do have to try and focus on the battles with the smaller gaps where we can. Yeah. There's a big gap between Van der Buysen and Utah, so it's like that gives you a bit of an idea as to where the back end of the race is. 14th onwards is a bit.
Yeah, so that's where we see Miller going into the pits. Currently,
that is pretty big because that's a very early pit due to damage, and that's from passing all those lapped cars.
Yep, I think that's a good assessment on that one. But it also looks like almost all the other leaders followed him as well.
Yep, which is huge for Dadley, who only has Utah left as the lapped cars, and then we have that big gap afterwards to Van der Buysen. So that's a prime estate past Utah in terms of clean air. So we see Sile trying to. Getting past Steve. Sile running pretty well in third place there, being chased by Popcat. Classic Mercedes and Ferrari muscle. As some lap cars go into the pits to repair. And Popcat, going around the outside but too wide, comes back and has the inside on Sile and gets the move done. How's that feel seeing your driver get past?
I'll take it for this race. I honestly, and from the transparency of the league, I don't have as much vested interest in the Sile as I usually would, but seeing some of these battles though is awesome because the last thing that you want is somebody walking away and there being nothing to really watch.
Yeah. And also, more than happy to have other people come in the booth and join us for commentating. You just want to do it for the fun or just try and improve their talking, the more the merrier.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference on this one, I love the top-down look because you can see so much more.
Yeah, you can definitely see a lot more and, just see everything, little bits and pieces here and there. That was the downside to the old Score model.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Really, if you have a bit of a trouble figuring out where the cars are, you still have the map there with the dots, so that helps out as well. But Popcat and Sile are having this nice little battle for third at the moment. If we go back onto the leaders, we do have Miller and Dadley still going at it.
With laps ticking down.
Yeah, it's and they're both on softs, so these softs might go all the way to the end at this point.
Yeah, I don't see anybody going to the pits here unless they get significant damage. And as of right now, Miller has the fastest lap too.
Yep, that he does, but he is coming over, just getting past Utah. Dadley still has to get past Utah, so that might increase the gap for Miller a little bit. But Miller just good pit strategy and staying safe, making it through so far. Dadley is closing in.
Yeah,
though.
that gap is coming down real quick.
Yeah, Dadley going really aggressive on the corners, and we can see this paying off as Dadley takes the lead. Both of them hit the wall there, so that slowed down their launch towards the start-finish line. Both of them hitting there, getting a bit more damage. They are very close to having to pit for damage, so they need to be careful there in the closing stages.
It actually already looks like, yeah,
Yeah.
Dadley definitely has some damage that's already, you can see the smoke behind the car.
Yeah.
But I think Dadley has the tires here to bring it home.
He has the tires. Does he have the car? Let's follow Dadley along here for the last lap. And as the cars pass the start-finish line at the end of the race, we can always go backwards. Yeah, Dadley will have to go for it. Hitting again. Let's hope it doesn't affect too much performance.
Yeah,
But,
you can see that. That's definitely starting to take a toll.
Yeah, I mean Miller also has some smoke coming out, so it's not like they're both, they're pretty even in terms of damage. But yeah, I think Dadley might just be able to squeeze it out. Oof, that was a rough one. Miller taking the corner a bit better, still touching with the back wheel. And yeah, Dadley's now on the last straight before the chicane, and then last corner coming up. Miller closing a little bit, but it's too little too late. Dadley will take the first win of the season in front of Miller.
Oh, now we go back here and we see the real damage going on.
Yeah, the real damage between Sile and Popcat. Sile will hold on and takes the last spot on the podium, followed by Popcat. Gordon takes 5th, Maldonado 5th, 6th. Ray is where is Ray
7th.
at the moment? Just crossing the finish line. Dakari as well. All these cars really low on health, so like bit of a tussle towards the end to get there. Toth, after all those pits, still ends up in 9th. Albano 10th for the points. And now we have Wong, Van der Buysen, Andrews coming in, followed by... Where's Utah? Utah is at the last chicane, getting overtaken by someone there. Utah, and as the last few cars come in. There we go. Let's take a screenshot. I'll got these for you. Of course, the point distribution is not exactly as they show here. Those will be calculated after the race, but we follow the standard Formula 1 where the top 10 score, and the fastest lap gets an additional point, unless I'm wrong.
Nope, dead on.
Okay, if you want to go to the second half. And I'm not even taking the points, you can do those afterwards.
Yep.
But I'll be posting those, I guess, in X.
That works.
F2. So, season 1. Race 1. F2. Oh, I think no one else can see pics other than us two, so you might have to change the permissions on that. I may have made a mistake. I do need you to go back onto the standings if you still have them.
Yep, I still have them.
Okay, let me retake screenshots for both. Just made a small mistake. And second picture, if you go scroll down. There we go. Okay, they have been posted in the pics channel for everyone to see. I think everyone is able to see them.
All right.
So let's have a couple minutes break so that I can get us some water and you can set up. And we'll be back in a few minutes with Formula 1. And we are back. A couple more minutes before we start the Formula One race. Hope you guys have all enjoyed the Formula 2 race. Let us know if you think there's anything that needs to be improved with the stream and the broadcast. As I said, this is the very first time we're doing this. So we are also learning a bit on the fly. And we'll see how Formula One goes in a few minutes.
Yeah, so obviously a couple of the differences here is laps are up to 34 on this one, so a little bit longer race, and then also there's 2 qualifying laps instead of only 1.
Yep. So 2 laps of qualifying is going to make it more interesting, because that means that we don't only have like the first lap. It'll give us a good idea, but until the cars pass the finish line for the second lap, every position is up for grab. And yeah,
I truly think that the qualifying for 2 laps, and the reason why it's set that way at Formula One is because, in my opinion, why I said it there, is the fact that it minimizes that randomness and really rewards those who, well, at least gives a better chance to reward those who have, the highest rating on that track, essentially.
yeah. And how are our competitors looking like tonight? Do we have any drivers that have invested in reaction on the Formula One drivers?
Well, what we can do is go back to this screen here. Alpine themselves, they have a pair of drivers that really put in a decent amount along with Aston Martin.
Yep. So we do have those 2. I do also seeing, some points invested by Hendrick Motorsports on Lewis. We do have some points invested, and I think not as money, but Jimmy Raikkonen from McLaren does have some points invested, as well as Burkhardt from Volkswagen IBM Racing.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is the driver with the highest rating we just watched in Dadley. And so, in Formula 2. So now we're bringing the pack a little bit closer together and having the highest rating only at 5. And so the field itself isn't as spread out, but we'll see.
Yep. And as you can see, we have a few teams that have renamed themselves. We do have Haas becoming Hendrick Motorsport, Williams becoming Mole Adra Racing, Alfa Romeo becoming Maple Troop Racing, Alpine staying the same, Toro Rosso AlphaTauri is now Hot Wheels Racing, Aston Martin, McLaren, Ferrari stay the same, as does Mercedes, and Red Bull is now Volkswagen IBM Racing.
I will say that Alpine is they are going to be making a change to what is always lapping people every evening, never ending relenting, which, as we can all guess, stands for Alpine.
God damn it.
Yep, that was my response as well. But it was much better than the one that they originally proposed. So we do like to have fun with it. Sometimes we give a little too loose of reins to them, but it is what it is.
Yep. So let's get on with qualifying. And we're off for qualifying. Remember, time only starts once they cross the start-finish line. And here we go. Everyone's crossed it. We are now full-only on in qualifying. So we do see, early on we have Lewis and Raikkonen, pushing real hard. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Remember that it's 2 laps of qualifying, so even though they might be ahead right now, they might not be as strong come the second lap, depending on how much turbo they have.
And remember that they are battling for a single point here, and we all know that could come down to, be very important in the long run.
We do see a few drivers hit the wall there right before the last quarter. That is going to cost them dearly in terms of time. If you haven't played this game, or you don't own this game, hitting walls or going off track is really penalizing. So drivers hitting walls does cost you a lot of time. We just saw Lewis and a couple of the others in the back there hitting again. Yeah, we do have a few people using turbos on that last straight before the start-finish line. And as they come across and drivers move up and down, I think this is going to be it. Raikkonen from Lewis to Carpentier. So yeah, Raikkonen in first, Lewis second, Carvalho third, Carpentier fourth, Piaud fifth, Jobin sixth, Strategy seventh, Devil eighth, Topalo ninth, D-Streak 10th. And the second half is Hennessy, Paul Hood, Shuttle, Selig, Burkhardt, Brooks, De La Torre, Chicken, and Base closing out the last row. As far as team goes, well, McLaren has one in the top 10. I don't really see anyone. I mean, the first team I think that has two is Hendrick Motorsports with second, fifth, seventh. We do have Alpine with sixth and ninth. And I think the other one was Hot Wheels. No, yeah, Hot Wheels with a fourth and a 10th place. Yeah, it's looking like a very mixed field, all things considered. Should be very interesting for the actual race.
All right, let's roll.
And 2, 3, 4, 5, and the cars are off. Raikkonen closing the door and going away. Followed by Lewis, Carvalho, Carpentier, Piaud, and Jobin round out the top 6. Devil is pushing, getting that place. Piaud also takes over 4th place. Attacking Carvalho, Raikkonen, and Lewis really fighting for the lead at the moment. Do have a few cars in the back that are fighting, tussling. Some damage there to Victory already. Took a bit of about 10% of its health off already. Yeah, cars are tussling in the mid-pack. Lewis is now in the lead and is trying to push and build a gap to Raikkonen. Devil is chasing Raikkonen, but is very close between 2nd and 10th at the moment. It's looking a much tighter race early on than the Formula 2, which stretched out fairly early on.
Yeah, I'm really waiting for them to start spreading out a little bit more, but I mean they are all right there together.
Yeah, and I mean the first laps are very important to stay clear and not hit walls or other cars. You don't want to be one of those drivers that has to go in for repairs early on and mess up your entire strategy because of it.
Yeah, I mean you look at Raikkonen there staying clean on hards is helpful in trying to utilize that entire tire instead of having to pit with damage.
Yeah, and in the top 5, Raikkonen is the only one on hards. Everyone else is on softs. So it's normal that Raikkonen will get overtaken, but not taking much damage is going to help him in the long run.
Yeah,
as
like
we see,
I can imagine Destruic will be trying to come in here. Yep.
District does have to come in, and that's what we were talking about. Just lots of damage early on can just affect your race. You don't want to be pitting at lap 3. And someone else came into the pits as well in Topalo, who will probably tumble all the way to 19th or 20th by the time they come back out.
Now Selig,
as we can see.
Now Selig is already up from 14th to 8th.
Does have a bit of damage though, probably from all the tussles in the midfield and hitting the walls here and there.
I'd say hitting the walls, yes.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Selig come in like this lap as well, if we can quick soundboard till like the pit entrance. Yeah, definitely going in. And we do have Carpentier as well. I wouldn't be surprised seeing Devil come in a lap or 2 with damage as well.
Yeah, really that signal is if you start seeing some smoke, as long as there's some laps left there in the meat of the race, then they'll come in if you start seeing that smoke.
Yeah. Drivers will not be taking the risk in mid-race to go long on low health. You will see that, in the last few laps, as we saw in Formula 2. But yeah, it looks like the softs are absolutely gone for Lewis, which gives Raikkonen, you know, free reign in front now, and has a lot of health as well, so can actually put a big dent there.
Yeah, so
Lewis comes back with mediums from softs.
in going through the field here, we can see where that durability is for the tire, which talked about a little bit early on when we started the broadcast. But as you can see, hards, durability-wise, should be getting you 8 to 11 laps. And I'll try and get us through here to get a picture of what the other ones are. So yeah, medium 7 to 9, with softs being 5 to 8.
Strategy and Pierre Hood going into the pits, followed by Jobin as well, all either for tire changes or repairs. It's about the window where the mediums will start to want to go into the pits early.
Yep,
the softs will all have pitted by now. We do see that I think only Raikkonen and Brooks have not pitted. Well, as I say that, Brooks goes into the pits. So Raikkonen is in the lead and is the only driver that hasn't pitted yet in this race.
And I think that will most likely be changing coming to the pit here.
Yeah. But I mean, we do have... there we go. Raikkonen goes into the pits, but Lewis has already caught up a lot of time on Raikkonen, overtakes him in the pits. How much further can Lewis get as Raikkonen now goes on to softs, comes back in 4th. So it's up to Raikkonen to really push now, going from hard to soft versus soft to medium from some of the other drivers.
Let's just go back to this battle.
Yeah, Shettle like fighting his own teammate there, and an Alpine of Jobin who is trying to brute force his way through. I think we're going to see at least one of those Mercs go into the pits this lap, if not both.
If not both, yeah. Yep, I would say definitely both.
Do they double stack? It looks like Shettle had to slow down to give a gap.
Oh, yeah, just give him a nice shove, too.
Yep. That's not optimal strategy by a Mercedes here, as both drivers will tumble down the standings, but are back on track. So yeah, let's take stock of the situation now. After 9 laps out of 34, Lewis is in the lead. Carpentier second, 4.7 seconds behind. Chased by Pierre Hood, really close by, and Raikkonen. There's a big tussle going on for second place at the moment. Strategy... Well, as I say that, Carpentier and Strategy go into the pits. Selick is now in 6th place, probably going up a little bit. Should just wait till those pit stops are all finished before saying everything. But essentially, Lewis from Raikkonen, from Hood, from Carpentier, Jobin, Strategy, District, Devil. I think that's the top. Selick and Hennessy. That's the top 10. And Ferrari has been fairly quiet, Hennessy running 10th, and I think Brooks is their other driver towards the back end. Definitely drivers that have not invested much, if at all, in reaction.
Yeah, I would say Ferrari coming into this one, I don't think that they had aspirations of doing too well in this one. I know that they're looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. We do have a battle for second place there between Raikkonen and Hood. They were fighting there and both took a decent chunk of damage from one another. Raikkonen, having a bit of a tougher time on those softs compared to the hards. I think we do have a bit more battle around the 10th place at the moment. I see a lot of drivers close by in terms of... there we go. Hood, Ree, and Tapalo really close by. And Ree going for the move on the chicane. Hits the wall and then bounces into Hood, who is able to take the spot. Tapalo goes into the pits. It looked like he had enough health, so it might be a planned pit stop in this case. As things calm down, but if we look a bit further up front, Jobin and Shettle fighting with one another, but trying to close the gap to Devil. A bit further up the road, or Strategy, I guess.
There we
Carvalho, who started, I think, third in this race, is fallen down a bit. As Devil has to cut the curb to go into the pits. But yeah, Carvalho running seventh from third to start the race. Took some damage early on and just wasn't able to catch up as they used their turbo there to try and steer clear from Selick and Jobin, who were getting closer. I think on the downside, we have Raikkonen, Carpentier, who still fighting, was now first place as Lewis did their second pit stop. But Lewis is close by, so it's going to be a 4-driver race for the lead. As they are coming to Brooks, the 20th place driver, Raikkonen with a nice outside move to take the inside corner afterwards.
Yeah, that was like a perfect place to make that pass.
Yeah, and a very aggressive one as well, which lets them get much further away from the others who will have to get to overtaking Brooks on the straight instead. For Hood and possibly Lewis has to back down for a corner or two and take it on the next straight, round the outside, losing a little bit of time. But Brooks is defending, not really caring about the blue flags.
Nope, not at all. Just piled Lewis right into the wall.
And as they come up to as another soon-to-be lap driver in Bass or Base, I'm not sure which one it is, but both are valid in my eyes. All 3 drivers there hitting the wall. It's not good for the leaders to hit the wall. There's so much race left.
Just like a backstop.
Ooh, Raikkonen taking some of the slow, the penalty stuff to prevent getting hit into the wall there. Pretty good strategy. Who does have to go into the pits to repair. This is what we were talking about. This is a race about survival. And I think pretty much every reaction race does not have much leeway due to all the walls around. So it becomes much more of a battle.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, the thing that people will see, obviously, I've played this game too many hours, is the fact that as the drivers' ratings get better, they hit those walls less because they take the corners appropriately.
Yeah, and as we see there, both Raikkonen and Lewis will probably go into pits. So both leaders going to the pit, which might give the opportunity for Hood, Pierre Hood, to take the lead, as we just see him take the start-finish line, and now is in the lead, and has a little bit of a gap between himself and Raikkonen and Lewis that are chasing him. And they have to go through Curious Chicken and Brooks right in front, so that's more people to overtake.
And we are about halfway through this race now, too.
Yeah. So Hood from Lewis from Raikkonen in the lead. We do have a couple of other battles, but overall, I think the gaps have stabilized and everyone's a bit like a second and a half, 2 seconds from one another. It's really the front where it's a close fight, and well, the lap cars are really making it interesting for the top drivers here. Shuttle going into the pits right here. Was getting close to Selick, but damage is damage. You don't want to be too damaged there early on. Paul Hood, Pierre Hood's brother, I guess. PA and PI, it's very hard to see.
Yeah,
so small.
This is the part of the sim aspect of it, in the sense that both Howd brothers have the exact same rating. And so seeing one down at 10th and one at first, obviously if we would have had the ability to look through all the drivers at the same time, we probably could have seen to some extent as to how, Paul possibly got held back at the beginning somehow.
I mean, and if you have a bad qualifying, especially on reaction tracks, you can just end up fighting and playing bumper cars instead of Formula One, and you have to go into the pits early, and that ruins your race.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty much what happened to a few drivers, especially I think of Carvalho, who granted is now I think in 6th place, but started 3rd and took a lot of damage early on, had to pit early compared to another driver. We do see Jobin starting to close the gap on Carvalho as Carvalho and Distrik go into the pits, so Jobin gets free two positions for the time being. Yeah, drivers are starting their fourth pits at the moment. The more aggressive tire runners or the ones that took damage are now, on their fourth pits. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing some of the other drivers that are on 3 go into the pits soon. But Lewis overtakes Piaud to retake the lead of the race. Raikkonen not too far out. It's been an interesting battle between those 3 drivers. All race long so far.
Yeah, Carpentier was, in this mix for a while, but I think he's had to fix some damage a couple rounds now, so he's fallen back in the pack a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, of the 3 drivers in the lead there, we do see them bumping cars a lot. Oh, nice move by Raikkonen to take over second place from Hood. Lewis and Hood do have a lot of damage compared to Raikkonen, who DRSs and takes the lead. Does take a heavy hit there, but Lewis is now going into the pits, and Hood as well, going into the pits for that damage repair, I should say. And they're both out, and they will, I think, hold on to second and third. So, that's how big the gap is to fourth.
Yeah, I mean, they came out of the pits there, and Carpentier was just entering that last turn.
I think that's we do see the pace difference as well, I think, between the 2 races. What were the F2 drivers running? The fastest lap was a 37.88. Actually, wow. Okay, no, never mind. Formula 2 was faster. I guess that reaction time that some of the F2 drivers have was faster, because at the moment the fastest lap, Pierre Roux, who is running third, is a 38.18, and the drivers in the F2, the fastest was a 37.8, so 0.3 faster from Formula 2 drivers. How many pit stops do you think we're going to see in the end, as we see a couple of drivers hit their 5th pit stop there, Topalo and Devil have hit 5. Rakkonen's still in the lead with only 3, but Lewis is closing down on him, and Hood is about to take the lead of the race there.
Yeah, I mean,
aggressive soft tire strategy.
Looking at that last lap though from Hood, I mean, he just ran a 37.43. I think one of the biggest differences that we had between F2 and F1 is F2 really got spread out pretty quickly. And so a lot of drivers getting on new tires had that ability to run a clean lap without running into other people. And
Raikkonen does come in, I think, both for tires and damage there, so convenient pit stop. Let's steer away a bit from the leaders now. Let's go see down the road what's happening. Strategy running in 5th, trying to close down the gap on Carpentier. Carvalho, 6th place, holding off Jobin and Distrik right behind him. And Paul Hood, 9th place. Sedich is holding on to 10th place. It's got a decent gap to 11th, so the top 10 is pretty set at the moment, bar anything crazy in terms of damage. We do see a big gap though between Hennessy, so 16th place onwards. That's pretty much the back markers and the mid pack. Burkhardt running in 13th. Of course, Burkhardt was our preseason champion. 2 strong performances in testing. Does not have this race as a solid one, although they did qualify pretty high up, if I recall correctly. So, proof that qualifying is not everything, as some drivers that were further back did manage to climb, and some staying in the back. Again, do want to say that if I mispronounce your driver's name, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I try my best, and unless I hear it properly, I will not be saying it as correctly as it could be. Um, yep. Lewis here in the lead does have some, well, convenient back markers who decide it's more important to pit than to block. So that's good. Raikkonen coming back, used some DRS there, but went wide and tapped on the wall. These two have been at it all race long, and Hood as well. You know, there's a bit of a bigger gap there, but wouldn't be surprised if that gap closes as we get closer and closer to the end.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to come down. There's 5.5 laps left of this race, and that gap is now gone between Howard and Raikkonen. So now they just got to catch up to Lewis, which I have a feeling is probably going to pit this one last time here.
What would you go with? Medium tires to finish?
This one, absolutely. Otherwise, those softs would be too loose coming around the end.
The question is, can Raikkonen go to the end on those hards?
Exactly. And if they keep banging away, I don't see that happening.
Especially with all the back markers in front of them, they are going to be suffering.
Yeah.
And those are two Volkswagen IBM cars there. Do not want to give them the space. They have to brute force their way past, and that is just giving Lewis all the time he needs to catch up to them.
That's giving Lewis all the time, and right now, Howard can sit back and let Raikkonen take this damage because going into that last corner, he took a pretty heavy hit.
Yeah. But, I mean, Raikkonen is past both Volkswagen and IBM, and I think that's Maple Stroop Racing there. Does have a Ferrari in front, the Ferrari of Brooks, who would be, I think, 2 laps down at this point. But, yeah, Lewis is now starting on some of the back markers there from Mercedes, so it must be Devil, I think. Yes. So basically, our top 3, who bar anything crazy, will be our top 3 finishers, are having a rough time of all these back markers. Raikkonen will have to pit here. Final pit stops for him. Does get overtaken by Lewis, which I think might concede the win to either Lewis or Hood. Hood is past the markers, has the tire life, and has clean air, so could go for the win here. Lewis does have to deal with the markers here. All of them. Pass 1, pass 2, hits the wall, hits another wall, hits another car, takes some damage. Hits Chicken, who hits the wall. 2 more back markers to try and close the gap to Hood. That's another wall hit.
Lewis has 0 self-control right now. Literally, is just throwing it into every space he can possibly find.
I did say it might be it for Raikkonen, but Raikkonen has clear air now, whereas Lewis still has to fight Hood for the lead. Although there's no more back markers between them, the damage has been equalized on both of them. Lewis is on soft tires, Hood is on medium tires.
Raikkonen is not out of this race.
He is not out of this race, but it's going to be hard.
Watch him make this move here, going into this last corner.
He's on DRS. The other cars hit. Raikkonen does take that corner better than the other two. Hood still holding on. Bangs. Raikkonen is avoiding the walls much better than the other two and has caught up right up. We do have a 3-horse race there for the end.
And both have damage in front of them.
Yeah, and Raikkonen does get past Lewis and is aggressively going into the S's, overtakes Hood. And those fresh tires are doing work and just being fresh, not having any damage. I honestly thought it was over for Raikkonen and would have had to settle for 3rd, but all those fresh tires have just made it so much better for him. So now we have Lewis and Hood chasing Raikkonen. Will they be able to catch up? I don't think so at this point. I think Raikkonen has been taking all these corners much cleaner than the other two. See, yeah, like the others are hitting the walls here. Raikkonen is not getting. Is being very careful right here.
Between tire wear and damage, Raikkonen should be able to walk away now that he's past all this.
We're on the final straight, the last couple corners here, left, right, or right, left, and then the final left here to the straight. And Jimmy Raikkonen takes our first Formula One race win, followed by Dubas and Pierre Houd for Aston Martin in third. Further back, we see Carpentier inching his way towards the last corner, last straight. Carpentier is going to take fourth place. Ferrari Strategy and D-Streak are going to be battling it out. Last corner, can Strategy hold out? I think he does, and Strategy just takes fifth place before D-Streak. Carvalho finishes seventh. Paul Hood, double points finish for Aston Martin. Jobin, with barely an inch of power left, takes ninth. And Selig, a lap down next to his teammate, crosses for 10th. Shettle, first non-pointer at 11th. We have Topalo 12th, Burkhardt 12th, Devil 14th. Okay, I missed the driver, I guess. Ree 15th, Hennessy 16th, Delatore 17th, Brooks 18th, Bass 19th, and Chicken 20th. Let me take the pictures, and I will be posting those in the Pix channel in our Discord. Fastest lap goes to Pierre Houd, who actually did better the time from the F2 by about 4/10. So that also, overall fastest lap tonight, goes to Aston Martin. I've got the first picture.
All right.
And I have the second picture. So once again, this has been Wally and Zune for F2 and F1. All slots for Formula 1 and 2 are filled. If you guys have people you think might be interested in a casual sim racing league, a very casual league, we have just opened F3. There are currently no drivers in there, and we are more than happy to have a third division set up. And who knows, if we get more and more divisions, we might change some formats here and there, but at least for the first few seasons, this is what we're going to see. Looking forward to having you guys from race 2.
Yeah.
When is race 2?
This was a fun time, and the flow. I really like the flow of this process this time around with Score. So I'm excited to get to race 2 on Thursday. And I can't even remember where we're going to on Thursday. So we will be at Italy on Thursday morning. So.
And what sort of track is Italy?
Italy is going to be a momentum track. So obviously, it's one of those tracks that's in, that skill set that has a good amount of races. So we're going to see a bunch of drivers that have a bit more to give this upcoming race.
Yeah. And hopefully Ferrari does show up a lot better than today. It's been a rough outing in Singapore for them. But yeah, I mean, we do have a nice variety of cars in the top 10. We do see, Lewis and Strategy for Hendrick Motorsport with a good amount of points picked up for them. Granted, the points on screen are not the points that will actually be distributed. And but Hendrick Motorsport's doing really well on the first race of the season. Aston Martin doing really well with 2 cars in the top 10, and McLaren, first and 10th. So that's another 2 points there, 2-point finishers for them. We do see, some teams that had a bit of struggle in testing, like Molo Adra, have a car finish in the points as well. So.
Yeah, it's a good variety. I like it, and that's why I really am excited to see Thursday's race, and hopefully get a little bit more spread out. Get some other people up there too, and get some more time on watching the drivers go. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And for anyone who is interested to join us in the Discord, you may always find us. We'll put a link somewhere. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it from our end.
All
See
right.
you guys next race.
We'll see you on Thursday.